Welcome. How did I become a tennis pro? That's what I'm going to. So, I was in a period of life where I was unsure of what I wanted to do. I had some issues, and my coach, I wouldn't even call him. I don't know if I'd call him my coach. He coached me in high school, college, on and off in groups and on teams. And I went to the U.S. Open, and I was really excited that year for some reason, and it just dawned on me that I wanted to become a tennis coach. And really, what I wanted to do is I wanted to be involved with what was going on at the U.S. Open because it was very attractive. As many of you know, if you've ever been to the U.S. Open, it's very exciting. So he started telling me about the USPTA, the PTR. This guy was a director at a country club at the time, and he's like, you got to get your USPTA certification. So I did that. I got my certification, which wasn't necessarily easy. I never really was. I never pursued it more than what they call a P2. P1 is the highest level, and then there's Master Pro. He was a Master Pro, and uh, yeah, I never really pursued it past a P2. Got my certification in New York City, in Flushing, New York, at the U.S. Open. So I did that, did some things, and I started to realize that this wasn't what I wanted to do. This wasn't for me. This when you watch the tennis professionals and how they operate, how they coach, the certification program, all that. I hated every second of it. I absolutely hated it. I was a quiet person. I always felt like I was having to exert extra energy to coach and to do things the way that these people wanted me to do. And what and I want to tell a story about uh, how I really when it really shifted for me when I actually became a tennis pro. So I worked at a country club and met another person, which I've talked about briefly, and some things happened there which I'm not going to get into. Uh, and I was also simultaneous. The country club wasn't that big. You could say I was an assistant pro, but there was no business there for me to coach. I didn't. There's no. It was very difficult to get lessons. There just wasn't any business there, so I wouldn't really consider myself a full time tennis professional at that point. But I was simultaneously working at a commercial indoor club during the winter, and the guy there, which we all made fun of, he's this big fat guy sitting behind the desk. He had worked as a tennis professional for a very long time, but he was at the end of his career, and he got this gig maybe like 10 years before that. It was basically a real estate company that runs this tennis club, and he stepped in and took it over. He was the director. He was basically the owner. You could say he was the owner because the real estate company didn't know what was going on. They had no expertise in tennis. He was essentially like contracted. And the guy that was coaching me beforehand, or the guy that I was associated with that really got me into tennis, he was the main guy before him. And I don't know exactly what happened, but this guy, something happened. They ended up running him out of there. And he was super successful while he was there, as far as making money, from what I can tell. And he was a very good businessman. And this guy was like the sage. He was like the guru. This big guy. He would sit back there and he just didn't give a fuck. And he would give you like little tips and say little things. Like I remember him used to saying to me, like, if you're excited about tennis, you should go to this city. And it was like some remote city where no one knew who you were and no one knew anything about tennis. And I was like, what are you talking about? What does this even mean? Like, that's what I mean by the guru. He would like throw in these little tips, kind of messing with you, messing with your ignorance. And what he meant by that go to this little city is like go somewhere where no one knows you and you can sell tennis and you're the main guy and you can sell it to everyone and you can be the winner of the business essentially. because where he was at, there was a foreign. I'm in the United States, and there was a foreigner who was the main coach, and he used to always tell me, like, and this is another example. He would say, everyone loves the foreign coach, and like in his mind, if you're a foreigner, you have an advantage as a tennis coach. And he had her on the first court. I never understood that either. She was always on the first court. So when you first walked in, you'd see her. Everyone would see her. It was like that was her promotion. And he really knew a lot about marketing and business and stuff like that, but he never showed it because like I said, he didn't care. He didn't want to do any of this. He knew the business that he was running, and he just wanted to sit back and let it run, turnkey. And so back to when I actually became, I think I officially became a tennis pro. I was the desk attendant. That's my job, as a desk attendant, and I ran he had a beginner clinic, an intermediate, and an advanced. And I was doing the beginner and intermediate, and then I would step in on the advanced and step in on the adult clinic once in a while. But essentially, I was the desk attendant, $7 an hour, whatever it was. And I ran those clinics. I was getting paid like $10, $15 an hour to do that. And they were all drop-in, which I hated. Everyone hated these drop-in clinics. And it was absolute torture. And I started pushing the education. I started pushing the play and stay. I started pushing the changes. I was very enthusiastic about tennis at the time. I wanted to sell. And he didn't want any of that. He wanted the club to stay the same. It was a contract club for adults, essentially. And it still is the same to this day. This was like 10 years ago, 12 years ago. Actually, this was 14 years ago. And it's still the same today. Nothing has changed. And he's not there anymore. He ended up retiring. But yeah, so this guy, there was one night I had the key. Okay, I had the key to the place, and what I used to do, I used to steal court time after hours, like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock when the club would close. Me and my friend Sean, we used to go in there and we used to train, and we used to practice all the shit that I learned from the books and everything else, and experimenting. So you think of anything you could think of, you see on YouTube, whatever it was. We were there at 10 o'clock at night playing 4 or 5 hours a day. Not just playing, but experimenting with all these things. And I would do that after the club closed because I had the key. And one night, I had like 7 guys in there. It started to get out of hand. And he lived like 45 minutes away. So it was like, there's no way this lazy ass fuck, he ain't coming in here at 11 o'clock at night. But one night, his 2 daughters played for Penn State University. Actually, they were, if you don't know, Penn State's the big Penn State, Division I college. His daughters were really good at tennis. Like I said, this guy knew a lot about tennis, but he put on like he didn't know shit. Like I said, he really didn't care. Had a house in I think he had a condo in Hilton Head, which he might even be there right now. I don't know. Finishing out his life. So his daughters must have been catching a flight home in Harrisburg or something. So he had to be in Harrisburg late at night, and he came in and caught us. And for some reason, he liked me. I don't know. He was like acting like he was so distraught over this and so disappointed in me. And so yeah, we got caught, and then not even like I don't know how, not that much later. Okay, I got accused of stealing money from this place, like the petty cash, and it was very confusing. It was like you had to do something with the cash in the safe at the end of the night, and before I know it, all of a sudden, got corporate in there interviewing me and how I'm a thief, and we did a little meeting with him and the corporate lady. And she was a real bitch. As if you've ever dealt with corporate HR, I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke. These people are so ridiculous. Like if there's anything such, not to say if you work in HR that this is you, but the experience, multiple experience I've had with people in HR that do this, they're like the most evil, ignorant people you ever met. It's disgusting. So she comes in, she's like interrogating me, and he's like, I remember him saying like, I went to bat for you. This motherfucker set me up. That's what he did. He set me up. I know for a fact. This guy set me up. He stole the money. Either him or the head pro, one or the other, stole the money, and then no one knew where it went. And it came down to I was the person there that night, so it had to be me. He set me up. And I think he set me up because he didn't want to deal. This is the kind of weird shit this guy would do. Uh, he set me up so that I would get caught, so that I would get fired and get my key taken away. So this is what happened. I got my key taken away. I couldn't be a desk attendant anymore, and I became an independent tennis professional or an independent contractor. So that was the deal. Hey, you can't work here anymore, but you can be an independent contractor. Instead of just coming out like a stand-up guy and saying, hey, look, I don't want you to be desk attendant anymore. I'm going to help you out because I got a book. I got a book this big, full of names and numbers. You just call them and we can get you some lessons and you can become an independent contractor. Instead of doing that like a stand-up guy, it was, nope, this is how we're going to do it. You're a thief. You're going to get fired. And you're going to but you can become an independent contractor. Well, what's that? I didn't even know what that was. So I became an independent contractor, and he would still give me my clinics that I would get paid more. Now I got paid more. Now I got paid like $20 an hour. It didn't matter if there was like 20 people on one court. I was still getting my $20 an hour. So I became an independent contractor, and he would feed me. Not only that, he would feed me like 5-year-olds. So like a 5-year-old would come in, and it'd be like a drop-in. Hey, I'm looking for a lesson. See, he knew all this. He knew the shitty lessons. He knew it all, and he would give me the 5-year-old that he would never give to the head pro was full. He would just, and I thought this was great. This guy's giving me like lessons, but they were the worst lessons ever. 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, people that aren't going to come back, people that are hard to deal with. High school kids, the high school kids would come in like a month before the season. I want to learn tennis because I'm trying out for high school. He knew the whole game inside and out. And yeah, it went on like that. I started building my book of lessons, and I got to about 20 hours. And this whole place, this was like a vicious cycle that I had to deal with year in and year out. You never was I going to be more than 20 hours because you couldn't be. There wasn't any court time. That was the way it was set up, and I was capped at 15, 20 hours for like 2 years before I went and started my own club, which is a whole nother story. But yeah, that's how I became. That is how I was drawn into the tennis profession as an independent contractor, as a tennis professional business person.